Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my top 36 wide receiver rankings and tiers for week number 11 of the 2024 fantasy football season. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. And if you would like access to my updated rankings, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, defense, they're available on the Patreon. Link in the video description for $7.50 a month. I love you guys more than you will ever know. Hope you have a great time watching today's video, and let's get on in to my top 36 wide receiver rankings and tiers for week number 11 of the 2024 fantasy football season. We begin with the no-brainer wide receiver ones tier with my wide receivers 1 through 8. At number 1, we have Jamar Chase going up against the LA Chargers in LA. Now, Jamar Chase obviously just front-handed, he backhanded, he roundhouse kicked the Baltimore Ravens defense in the mouth last week in Baltimore, scoring 55 fantasy points. Is he going to do that again? More than likely not, but I do believe he is a shoo-in to be a top 10 wide receiver on the week. Jamar Chase is a must-start every single week, regardless of the matchup. And this matchup up against the Chargers is definitely one where I could see Jamar Chase having a humongous performance. At number 2, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Now, last week, I was really high and mighty about Justin Jefferson. I was banging the drum for him because going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars is a finger-licking good matchup. Now, obviously, the Minnesota Vikings offense couldn't take advantage of that because Sam Darnold was playing like his name was Stevie Wonder, but ultimately, I do believe that Jared Goff and friends will be able to take advantage of this defensive matchup. Amon-Ra St. Brown has scored a touchdown every single game of this season, dating all the way back to week number 3. So the only games in which he didn't score a touchdown were in weeks 1 and 2. He has 8 total touchdowns on the season, and I'm feeling very confident up against this Jaguars defense. At number 3, we have the aforementioned Justin Jefferson of the cold like Minnesota Vikings going up against the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. Now, like I said, when we were talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown, right, the Minnesota Vikings offense did not show up to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Justin Jefferson was on the struggle bus because of it as the wide receiver 32, but ultimately, I do believe things will be a lot better this week up against a underrated Titans defense. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is like the easiest matchup ever for Justin Jefferson, but we know who Justin Jefferson is. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL, and you got to give him his credit inside the top 5. Next up, we got Nico Collins of the Houston Texans going up against the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry's World. Now, basically every piece of information I found on the internet will tell me that Nico Collins is going to play in this game. He logged a full practice on Friday with the hamstring injury. I personally thought he was coming back last week. The tea leaves said that he was going to, and then ultimately that ended up not being the case. But this week, the extra day feels as though he's going to be good to go. The Dallas Cowboys defense is not what we made them up to be. A lot of Cowboys fans were giving them the Gawk Gawk 9000 special all summer long, and this defense gets plowed like their name was Lena Paul. So going up against Mr. Nico Collins in his return game, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, with CJ Stroud, who I think is going to look a lot better in this game, I feel incredibly confident in Nico Collins. Next up, we got George Pickens going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, we did just see Jamar Chase go to Pound Town up against this Baltimore Ravens defense. And while I don't think George Pickens is on the same level as Jamar Chase, I do think as long as Mr. Unlimited continues to feed George Pickens the ball, then we will see a huge performance out of Pickens, who was the wide receiver number 4 last week in Washington. Next up, we got Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, the tandem at the wide receiver position in LA. Personally, I do feel a little bit more confident in playing Puka because I do really feel like at this point in Cooper Kupp's career with Puka Nacua is the 1A, Cooper Kupp's the 1B. Now, it doesn't mean that you should just drop Cooper Kupp down the rankings. He's ranked 1 spot behind Puka Nacua, but I do think Puka Nacua is ultimately the head of the table here when it comes to the 2 wide receivers. Wide receiver 7 last week after following up a stinker where he got ejected 5 minutes for fighting a Seattle Seahawks defender, but he was the wide receiver 7 last week, 14 targets, 9 receptions, 98 yards, in a game where the Dolphins defense kept the Rams out of the end zone the whole entire game. I do expect the Rams offense to look a lot better in this game, take a Viagra, look a lot harder, and I expect up against the Patriots that Puka Nacua will have great success. Cooper Kupp had a solid game last week as well. Puka Nakua's game was better, but he was 7 of 7 for 80 yards, 2 straight games inside the top 18. He feels like a pretty safe bet to finish inside of the top 10 yet again. And closing out the top tier here is going to be Tyreek Hill going up against the Las Vegas Raiders at home in the 305 Dale. Now, when it comes to Tyreek Hill, this guy has been beating us down every single week we start him. Week 1, the game, he's coming off the getting detained by the police, right? They handcuffed him, and he goes out, and he takes all of his angers out on the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? But then Tua gets hurt, and it's bad. And then Tua comes back, and it's still pretty bad. Now, he did score a touchdown last week for the first time since week 1. I do think there are brighter days ahead for Tyreek Hill, but I'm going to be honest with you. I've said every single week since Tua's back, this is the time Tyreek does good, right, guys? Finally, that ducks are in a row. Shout out Tony Soprano. It's going to finally work. And then it doesn't, but this feels like the game up against the Raiders. A amazing barbecue chicken matchup for Tyreek Hill. I expect this to be the game where he pops off. Next up, we move on into the slightly lower tier no-brainer wide receiver ones. Now, there's going to be people in the comment section, or maybe you're just thinking it right now. Nick, technically, some of these guys aren't wide receiver ones because they're ranked outside of the top 12. I know, but these are all guys that are in consideration for being top 12 wide receivers. So we start off with GW. We ain't talking about George Washington. We're talking about Garrett Wilson, Jumpman himself, going up against the Colts. Now, the whole Jets offense was a disgrace last week. Let's call a spade, disgraceful. Garrett Wilson scored 9 fantasy points coming off of a game where he scored 30 fantasy points in prime time against the Texans. Now, I do have my reservations of thinking, you know what, maybe the Jets have quit, but Aaron Rodgers talking about coming back, so I think he's not going to fully give up just yet. The Jets are still technically in position to potentially make a playoff run. The Colts defense is a great matchup for him, so I do expect him to bounce back, but honestly, I do really believe that if you're ranking him versus Davante Adams, I think Garrett Wilson is the much safer bet. Next up, we got Cedric Tillman of the Cleveland Browns going up against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. Now, Cedric Tillman has been a top 12 wide receiver in 3 straight weeks, right? With Jameis Winston under center, Cedric Wilson, shout out to Cedric Wilson, but Cedric Tillman has became a guy that's getting 9+ targets every single game. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I rubbed the crystal ball and was like, you know what, in 2023, Cedric Tillman didn't do jack shit, but in 2024, this guy's going to be a league winner, right? No one in their right mind thought it, but that's the reality we live in. This guy has league-winning upside. Jameis Winston, even in his down game prior to the bye up against the Chargers, where he didn't play that well, Cedric Tillman was 6 of 11 for 75 yards and a touchdown. Up against the Saints, I think Cedric Tillman should repeat inside of the top 12. Next up, we got Davante Adams going up against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, he is currently questionable, but is expected to play Sunday, dealing with an illness and a wrist injury. Now, last week, he had 13 targets, but only 6 receptions for 31 yards. I made this joke in a video earlier on in the week, so if you've already heard it, I apologize. But the joke basically was that Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams were not only not on the same page, they were in 2 completely different books, right? Davante Adams reading fiction, Aaron Rodgers is reading nonfiction, right? It's just 2 completely different things. They were not even remotely on the same page, and it was a disaster, right? I don't know if it was Adams' fault or if it's Rodgers' fault, because you can't really tell, but both of them did not come correct in that game at all. And that was coming off of a game where Davante Adams took the Houston Texans out back and whacked them. So I do expect Davante Adams to be better. I love the matchup here up against the Indianapolis Colts. This is a soft as baby shit matchup, but I still do have some slight worries about the Jets. Next up, we got Mr. Deebo Samuel of the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Now, without Brandon Ayuk, I do believe there will be some more consistency for Deebo Samuel, but ultimately, Brock Purdy's been playing well, and they do like Jawan Jennings. They like Ricky Pearsall, so I don't think Deebo's ever going to end up being the safest bet, right? He just will never be that guy. His upside is immense. His upside is a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown, a large rush, a large catch, right? A huge fucking game. 30 fantasy points, right? The floor is kind of low, though. The floor is lava because, again, Deebo isn't guaranteed to get the 8, 9, 10 plus targets some guys are guaranteed to get. So while the risk is there, ultimately, I would find it very, very hard to sit him. I think anyone that has Deebo Samuel kind of knew, or you should have at least, because I said it all summer, known that Deebo Samuel's a riskier type of player. Next up, we got Zay Flowers going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Now, Zay Flowers last week, despite the game being a back and forth gun fight, shootout, dog fight type of deal here. We ain't talking about Mike Vick. We're talking about a fucking plane fight, a dog fight. That's what I'm talking about here. He was the wide receiver 47. 4 receptions on 6 targets for 34 yards. But again, he's another one of these guys where you kind of just know that's eventually going to happen, right? When Zay Flowers flies too close to the sun, when he's going nuclear too many games in a row, you know that ultimately the ship's going to capsize eventually, right? Zay Flowers is an excellent wide receiver. He's on a team that loves to run the ball, and he's a guy that can get deep play receptions, right? And he's a guy that, despite the fact that he's such a deep down the field threat, really doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, but he makes up for it with 12, 10 plus target per week games, 100 plus yard games. So Zay Flowers, while you might panic, a lot of people might panic, I'm just going to stay the course here, not worry too much. Next up, we got Drizzy Drake London going up against the Denver Broncos in Denver. Now, I did have a bit of a debate, right? The devil versus the angel on the shoulder type deal about Drake London. I love Drake London. I talked up Drake London in the summer. There were a lot of people that said, Nick, you're a fucking idiot. You can't draft Drake London. Drake London let us down last year. Drake London isn't all that good, Nick, just because he got, based on where he was drafted out of college, he can't be that good. Kirk Cousins not going to save him. That's what people were saying, and I was saying, nah. Drake London's going to be great. He's going to make Atlanta great again, and Kirk Cousins has really helped him out. Without Desmond Ridder, without his stupid bastard head coach Arthur Smith, things have been on the up and up for Drake London. The matchup here is rough going up against Patrick Surtain. If he shits the bed, I wouldn't be surprised. But again, he's played so well that I do believe he belongs in a spot up here. Final guy here, guy on the other team, Denver Broncos wide receiver Courtland Sutton going up against the hot Atlanta Falcons at home in Mile High. Before we talk about Courtland Sutton, though, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends, our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog, you're watching this on Saturday, your free pick will be Victor Wembanyama if you're a new user. Higher than half of a total point. You match that with any other player in the NBA, not on the Spurs, or on any other NFL player. And if both of your picks hit, then you will get 3 times what you put in your pick. If you do multiple other picks, then the payout will be higher. You will also receive a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you sign up using promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. If you're watching this on Sunday, then the free pick will be a quarterback higher than half of a total yard. So make sure you guys check that out, promo code Notorious, or click on the link in the video description to get your free pick, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. It is an amazing offer that you guys should be taking advantage of. So when it comes to Courtland Sutton, things were shaky. It was a very, very, very shaky start to the season, but eventually he's kind of found his wings, and he's been flourishing. 3 straight inside the top 21, and back-to-back games as the wide receiver 6. Now, this is the matchup where I think it can continue. I think he could be the wide receiver number 6 again. 9 or more targets in 3 straight games, over 100 yards in 2 out of 3 games, and a touchdown in 2 out of 3 games. I think Bo Nix is incredibly legit. He's a much better quarterback than people gave him credit for. So I think if he's going to just continue to feed Courtland Sutton with such low value other targets on the team, like the wide receiver 2, Devon Vell, or Troy Franklin, like these are fucking nobodies compared to Courtland Sutton, and Courtland Sutton's target share tells you that. So you want to be believing in Courtland Sutton at this point in time. Now we move on into the wide receiver 2 tier here, headlined by Mr. DeAndre Hopkins, going up against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Now his time in Kansas City hasn't been the steadiest, right? He comes to Kansas City, doesn't really do much. You can't expect a lot when you're not getting a lot of work, right? And then in week 9 up against Tampa, he puts belt to ass up against the Bucs. 2 touchdowns, 86 yards, 8 receptions, 29 fantasy points, wide receiver 4. Then he simmers down against Denver, which I projected. I think this matchup's a lot better up against Buffalo. I think this game has the high-scoring back-and-forth affair, tit-for-tat, rock'em sock'em robots level upside. So up against Buffalo, I feel like DeAndre Hopkins belongs in the wide receiver 2 tier. I don't feel confident enough yet to have him in the tier above. Next up, we move to Monsieur DK Metcalf going up against the 49ers in San Francisco. Now, the exact same narrative we talked about another wide receiver in this game, Deebo Samuel, is the same exact narrative about DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is hot and he's cold. He's yes, then he's no. He's in, then he's out. He's up, then he's down, right? He will have the highest of high games. He will smack the defense up. Smack them up, John Jones style, right? And then The next game, he's punching with pillows attached to his hands, right? He goes from bare knuckle boxing to 18-ounce gloves, right? Much different hitting power, right? DK Metcalf is a fucking beast. He is a... Genuinely, it's like shocking. This is going to sound a little suspect, but based on how the guy looks, right? He's shredded to the gills and he's fast. It's like shocking. It's like he's built in a lab, right? That's how good he is. Like, he's incredible, but he's never really been consistent. Up against the Niners, they're going to have to throw a lot, so this could be a huge game out of Metcalf. But again, with him being so up and down, I don't think anyone should feel confident ranking him inside the top 12. And he is also coming off of the knee injury that had him missing week 8, week 9, then they had a bye, and now he's back in week number 11. Next up, we got T. Higgins going up against the LA Chargers in LA. Now, T. Higgins, I honestly thought the guy was just like, I want a new contract. I'm not showing up. He misses Philly, misses the Raiders, misses the Ravens, but he's back this week up against the Chargers. T. Higgins is a reliable top 24 guy every single week when healthy. Joe Burrow has been playing out of his mind. And with Joe Burrow playing at such a high level, it is very hard to rank T. Higgins any lower than this. And if you wanted to be like, Nick, I'd rather play Higgins over Portland Sutton, over Drake London, over Hopkins, the guys in this tier, maybe even in the tier above, I wouldn't really have a crazy argument to be made with you. Next up, we got Jaden Riley Reed of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Chicago Bears in Chicago. Jaden Reed is another one of these guys that is super hot or cold. You typically never get the wide receiver 30 game. It's either top 24 or wide receiver 77, right? That's just kind of what he does. The game up against Detroit, he was good. He was the wide receiver 17, but that was a very suspect showing out of the Packers. I get that the weather was kind of playing an influence there. The matchup here coming out the bye up against the Bears isn't the best, but understand that Jordan Love was playing hurt through that game, and now he's coming out the bye week. He's probably still banged up, right? I don't think anyone's 100% by this point in the season, but he's going to be a little bit more healthy, and I think that should help Jaden Reed out, even though the matchup isn't great, which is why he's ranked here and not a little bit higher. Next up, we got Darnell. Here comes the Mooney of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Denver Broncos. Again, not the most ideal matchup, but he's been a top 19 wide receiver in 3 straight games, so he belongs in the wide receiver 2 range. They have been feeding this guy the rock heavily. 9 targets in back-to-back games, over 85 yards in both games, and a touchdown in one game, no touchdown in the other. Up against the Broncos, I do think this game, even with the matchup not being the best on paper, could be high scoring. So Darnell Mooney, again, based on what he's shown us recently, he belongs in this spot. Next up, we got Juwan Jennings going up against the Seattle Seahawks. Wide receiver 16 last week, 7 of 11. Shout out to the store. Shout out to the Slurpee. Shout out to the sushi. No one's getting 7-Eleven sushi. Really, shout out to the fucking pizza that they have there. That is actually kind of good, but that's the kind of pizza that you eat. Sorry, 7-Eleven, but you eat that pizza when you're drunk and you wake up in the morning and you're basically throwing up out your ass, meaning it is not coming out solid. I'll tell you that much. Sorry if that was a little gross. But I'm not going to apologize. I'm sorry, actually, because, you know, some of you guys, you might be, like, eating watching me, which is funny, because I always eat watching a YouTube video unless I'm talking to someone. Like, when I'm with my fiance, obviously, I'm not, like, some iPad kid. Like, at this restaurant, we're at the steakhouse, and I whip out my phone, and I'm watching, like, I don't even know, like, what would I be watching? Like, watching some Call of Duty phase fucking montage or Kyler Murray montage, right? I'm not like that, but when I'm sitting at home, when I make my dinner, when I'm by myself, I'm sitting here at my desk watching something, you know, watch some NFL highlights or something. But what I was actually trying to say here is Juwan Jennings, 7 of 11, 93 yards. He's a reliable top 24-ish guy with how good Brock Purdy has looked. The Seattle Seahawks defense is not the best. Definitely didn't live up to expectations. This is far from the 12th man that they used to be. Caw-caw! So I got Juwan Jennings looking real nicey in this game. And final guy here is CeeDee Lamb. Now, I had a long debate with myself on CeeDee Lamb before I made this video. I really fine-tuned the rankings. Sitting here, I'm thinking, Nick, what should I do with CeeDee Lamb? For one, he's CeeDee Lamb, right? He's really fucking good. The Texans matchup's fine. But then there's the Cooper Rush factor. Cooper Rush just isn't good. I think he's better than what we saw last week, but I still don't think he's very good. This is a primetime game. This could be a huge letdown from CeeDee. But again, Well, I wanted to rank him lower. Once you see the names ranked lower than him, I couldn't mentally sit there and put the rankings together and be like, okay, yeah, CeeDee Lamb's with Calvin Ridley and Khalil Shakir, right? I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I could not force my hand. I have him ranked lower than expert consensus rankings. He's the wide receiver 16 on Fantasy Pros. I couldn't rank him that high, but I also can't bury him more than this. I have to play CeeDee Lamb in my home league. I hope CeeDee Lamb goes out there, and he's going to get a shit ton of targets, so hopefully they're just a lot more accurate than they were last week. So next Here is the wide receiver 3 tier headlined by Calvin Ridley. A little spoiler alert, we just talked about him. Calvin Ridley going up against the Minnesota Vikings at home in Tennessee. Now, Calvin Ridley was amazing up against the LA Chargers last week. 5 of 9 for 84 yards and not 1 but 2 touchdowns. And he has looked good this season with Mason Rudolph, but Will Levis comes back. I'm like, you know what? Pump the brakes. Back up. Weep, beep, beep. Back that take up. Don't jump fully off the bandwagon, but don't bang the drum for him. Don't get silly. Wrap your willy, right? And I say, you know what? I'm a little bit nervous. I don't love him. And then, boom, he fucking smacks me in the face. Says, you stupid bastard. Why did you sit me? Wide receiver 3. But now he's going up against the Vikings. Now he's got a real tough task. And based on what I know to Will Levis, he's probably going to throw a couple of picks. So they're going to be chasing, so he could score that touchdown. He's going to get a lot of volume. Just I don't trust Will Levis enough yet to rank him higher, and I don't like the matchup. Next up, we got Khalil. Shakira. Oh, baby, when you talk like that, you make a woman go mad. Of the Buffalo Bills going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. And hopefully his hips don't lie this week, because I think Khalil Shakir has a boatload of upside. Amari Cooper should be back. That's not the best for Shakir, because that guy can suck in targets like his name was Phoenix Marie. So Khalil Shakir going up against the Chiefs, he's a fine wide receiver 3. That's how I feel about it. The game could be high scoring. He feels like he's going to get you 12 plus points, so I like him here. Next up, we got the Ladd McConkey going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Great matchup for him. Problem is, last week he only got 2 targets. I think the targets should be a little bit higher this week, because this is going to be a high scoring game. So that's good for Ladd. Quentin Johnson also gets a decent amount of targets as well. But again, Ladd feels like, hey, he's going to be a top 30 guy every single week, so he belongs here. Next up, we got Jakobi Meyers of the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Miami Dolphins in Miami. Prior to the bye week, back-to-back games as a top 20 wide receiver. Now, the change in offensive coordinator could shake things up here, ruffle the feathers here, and make things worse. It could make things better. Ultimately, I don't think things could get much better because of who Gardner Minshew is. The Dolphins defense did not allow a single touchdown last week, but they did allow Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua to have good games. So there is top 20 potential out of Jakobi Meyers. But again, who's really chomping at the bit, right? Who's really like super ecstatic to play Jakobi Meyers? I don't think anyone. Next up, we got JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba of the Seattle Seahawks going up against the 49ers in Santa Clara. Now, JSN had his career game last week, 7 of 13 for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not last week, but his last game prior to the bye week, which was week 9 up against the Rams in that overtime thriller, right? JSN, he looked great. Great. Shout out Tony the Tiger. He was great. Well, let's call a spade. DK's back. That pulls back some targets. They still have Lockett. That pulls back some targets. JSN is not a red zone weapon. That pulls back some upside. They're going to be throwing a lot, though, so you push some more upside there. So there's a lot of pull, not too much push, but JSN's a good player. The matchup against the 49ers could be high scoring. They should be chasing, throwing the ball a ton. So JSN's fine in this range. Next up, we move to Tank Dell going up against the Cowboys in Jerry's World. Now, some people might say, Nick, Nico Collins coming back. That's the nail in the coffin of Tank Dell. Tank Dell is finished. It's hashtag over. Over. Finished. Like that Vince Carter, the Vince Carter gift. Finished. It's over. I think that's after the slam dunk contest when he's got like the Raptors old school jersey, which is so fire, the purple one with the Raptor on it. If you know, you know. Tank Dell going up against the Cowboys in Dallas in Jerry's World. I think the addition of Nico Collins coming back will give softer coverage to Tank Dell, thus opening up the game for him. 9 or more targets in back-to-back weeks. We'll see if he can keep up with like 7+. Tank Dell's really let us down this season, though, so Even though I do feel still like he's going to be fine, I don't think anyone's really ecstatic to play Tank Dell. Next up, we move to Jameson Williams. Now, Jameson Williams is a wide receiver that I love, and early on in the season, it was looking like Jameson Williams was going to be a certified league winner, and Amon-Ra St. Brown might be a big fat bust, right? Wide receiver 5, 23, 9 targets week 1, 11 targets the next week. But then a seismic shift changed. It wasn't a slight change. It was a humongous change. 3 targets, 2 targets. Bye week, no targets in the bye week. 4 targets, 1 target. Suspension, 5 targets. So if he's just getting like 3 or 4 targets, you need the big play to occur. Now, the big play can occur. Happened multiple times when he was just getting like 2 and 4 targets. The upside is definitely there for him to take up against Jacksonville. But again, when you're getting fucking 4 targets, maybe just 3 targets, no one can be that up in arms about wanting to start you. Next up, we move into the low-end wide receiver 3s, and this pains me, but Josh Downs is down here. Going up against the Jets, I love this matchup up against Sauce because Sauce Gardner sucks donkey dick as of recently. He learned how to golf in the offseason, and that basically just screwed him over. I don't know why, and a lot of Jets fans are really mad at him because he'll be like in some Twitch streamers chat talking during the week, and people are like, you gotta lock in, bro. You're getting fucking plowed out there on the field like your name was Angela White, right? And you know, it is what it is. Josh Downs, I love Josh Downs. I think he's the best receiver on this team. I think he's incredibly talented. With Anthony Richardson under center, his battleship is sinking. Now, it's not fully capsized. It's not fully over, right? It's not like up in the air like this, just going down, right? But it's up, you know? It's not looking the best. A lot of holes in there. Like fucking SpongeBob's body. So going up against the Jets, good matchup. But with AR, the volume will be there, but the safety is just completely gone. The safety's off, right? Next up, we got Jalen Waddle going up against the Raiders. Now, Jalen Waddle hasn't done shit in fantasy football in reality since week 1. Everything outside of week 1, he has been a top 30 wide receiver 0 times. Based on where you drafted him, you got rinsed. You got fooled. And it hurts because I fooled myself. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again. I've been fooled twice. Back-to-back years, fooled. Looking like a fool with your pants on the ground, right? I like the spot against the Raiders. If there ever was a game for him to flourish, it would be up against the Raiders. But if there ever was a game for him to flourish, it would be against the Cardinals. Where he's the wide receiver 52. Oh, up against the Bills, he's going to do good, wide receiver 47. Oh, against the Rams, he's going to do great. Oh, the ball hits him in the titties and falls over. He's the wide receiver 39. I like Jalen Waddle. I think he's way better than the numbers we've been getting. But when you can't hold on to the fucking ball, I can't rank any higher. Next up, we got Amari Cooper. Amari Pooper Scooper of the Buffalo Bills going up against the Chiefs. Fine spot here. Not the best, though. He's questionable with the, look at that wrist. Ooh, the wrist injury. He was hot. First game with the Bills. Cold the next game. Can't guarantee a lot of targets. But can guarantee that if Amari Cooper gets enough targets, he will be very valuable. Next up, we got Quentin Johnston, QJ, going up against the Bengals. Lad's the guy. QJ is kind of second in command. And then they have a ragtag group like Joshua Palmer behind them. Great matchup against the Bengals. Amazing spot for him to just break that defense over his fucking knee like a baseball bat. You ever seen like a roided out player gets mad? Boom! And they just cut the thing in half like this crazy wood bat. You know what I'm talking about. Quentin Johnston, I hated this guy last year. I was like, dude, I'm such a dumb bastard. I'm a silly guy. Why did I draft Quentin Johnston? Quentin Johnston sucks. He can't catch the ball. He has no hands, right? And then I guess he had hand reconstruction in the summer because the guy's been good. He's been good. Now, he hasn't been healthy, but he's been good. He's a fine top 36, 38-ish option every week. He's another guy I don't think anyone's excited to start him, but back-to-back weeks with the touchdown up against the Bengals, he definitely could do that again. Next up, we got Brian Thomas Jr. Now, do I want to rank Brian Thomas Jr. this low? Fuck no, baby. But I have to. The matchup against Detroit isn't good. Mac Jones isn't good. Nothing is good in Jacksonville. Except for maybe the women. But I don't even know about that. I'm engaged. I would never know. Don't even look at him. Look right past him. Never seen a woman besides my fiance. Never. So, Brian Thomas Jr., I love him, but sadly, he can't be ranked higher than this. The upside's obviously there, but there's no safety. Next up, we got Jerry Jeudy of the Cleveland Browns going up against the Saints. Another guy feels safe, right? Like Brian Thomas, there's a lot of risk. Amari Cooper, there's a lot of risk. Jalen Waddle, there's a lot of risk. QJ, there's a lot of risk. He feels like the safest bet in here. That was the upside the highest? No. But he's getting 8+ targets in back-to-back games, 70+ yards in back-to-back games. Something to be said about that. And what is said about that is that he's a low-end wide receiver 3. Final tier here, the flex tier. This is a flex zone. Hit the fucking... Still bringing it. Bringing the goddamn boom. Shout out Big AJ and Big Justice. Now we got Jordan Addison right in the flex spot. Now, do I want to start Addison? No. Jordan Addison is like Jameson Williams, but on a worse offense. That's what he is. He's a couple of targets per game type of guy that needs a touchdown and needs a big play to be successful. But every once in a while, he's going to get it. Every once in a while, he's going to get it. Could it be up against the Titans? Maybe, maybe not. But it could be. Next up, we got Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs going up against the Bears in Chicago in better matchups. I love him. A matchup like this, he's in the flex. For other guys in this tier would be DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Ricky Pearsall, DeMario Douglas, Rome Odunze, Chad Bateman, Tyler Lockett, Xavier Worthy, those kind of guys. Do I want to start any of them? Fuck no, baby. But there's a lot of teams on bye, so you might have to play them. If you got any other questions, Nick, you didn't talk about my wide receiver 4. Maybe I want to start him instead. Can you let me know? Can you help me? Fuck it around. Yeah, I can help you out. Just ask in the comment section. I try to answer as many comments as possible. Love you guys more than you'll ever know. I don't honestly know if there'll be a quarterback and tight end rankings video today. If there isn't, I will just post the rankings up on the community page. So make sure you guys do check that out. Love you guys more than you'll ever know. I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you watched 30+ minutes of my video, you're a real one. So I'm just going to let you in on inside the NFL. What is it called? Like inside basketball or whatever you want to call it, right? Behind the scenes, behind the curtain. Recently, I'm going to be honest, I've been very burnt out on making videos. I work a full-time job. I make around 10 videos a week. I stream twice a week. It's a lot. Week 11, I've been doing this since like May, making videos every single day. In August, multiple videos a day. It's been a grind. It's worth it because I genuinely do it because I appreciate you guys. And the reason why I still make these videos, even at times when I don't feel like doing it, when I wake up and it's like, fuck, I gotta make a video, because I actually like making the videos, right? The process of me sitting here talking, having a fun time, I'm not putting on an act. I'm having a lot of fun. But, and again, I'm not here to complain. Like, if you guys are like, wow, what a fucking pussy this guy is, right? He makes videos on the internet. What a loser, right? I get it, but telling you guys how I feel. Week 11, if I made so many videos this season, I love making the videos. I'm just getting a little bit tired, It's just how it goes. But the season goes along. We're going to get all the way to our championship game, and we're going to win. Regardless of if there's, like, a little bit of anger. I'll be like, oh, I got to sit down and record this video. I love recording the videos. It's the most fun part of doing this. I appreciate all the support you guys show me. Without you guys, the whole ship sinks. So hopefully no one took this as me, like, complaining. I'm just being honest with you, right? I'm never sitting here, like, fucking complaining about anything, right? I work my job. You guys have a job. You do your job. I do my second job, which is this, and I do it because I love fantasy football and I love you guys. So I hope you didn't take that as, oh, Nick, what a loser, right? Or take it the wrong way. I'm just giving you guys an update. Hey, that's how I feel. So, like, when the quarterback and tight end video doesn't come out, it's not like, oh, I am very busy tomorrow because I have to work, but it's also because, like, that's just not a video that's super exciting to make, whereas this video is. But I might still make it because I do, while I'm recording, I do really enjoy it. So I love you guys so much. I hope that wasn't too much of a breakdown. People definitely left. They're like, Nick, I don't give a fucking shit what you have to say. So hit that subscribe button if you're new. I love you guys all so much. Genuinely, we'll be back if there's no video later today. Streaming tomorrow, 12 p.m. EST. Might start a little bit earlier. I love you guys so much, genuinely. All of the support that we've seen this season is incredible. Hope you guys have a great week. We're very close to Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving, and I love you guys, and I'm thankful for all of you guys. Don't want to get emotional here, but I do appreciate you guys. So hope you have a great one. Check out Underdog if you haven't already. Victor Wembanyama, higher than half total point is your free pick, plus a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash using promo code Notorious. If you're a first-time depositor, love you more than you'll ever know. Have a great one. Shout out Wayne Gretzky. As always, good boy.